This is True Voice Unfiltered, the podcast where raw truth meets real transformation. I'm your host, Daria Anne, ghostwriter, content strategist, and holistic health warrior. No, I'm not a doctor, nurse, nutritionist, or any kind of medical professional, and this show does not dispense medical advice. I'm just an informed patient sharing what I've learned on my own healing journey. I also interview accomplished authors, speakers, entrepreneurs, and functional medicine practitioners who are transforming lives. If you're ready to break free from the sick care system, reclaim your health, and transform your life, you're in the right place. Let's get unfiltered. Hi, everyone, and welcome to True Voice Unfiltered, episode 23. I'm excited about today's episode because I get to interview a fabulous woman who was also a client, an editing client, and a website page client of mine. I wrote her web pages for her new website, and I edited her new book called Smart Money CEO, the 30-minute Friday habit every small business needs for financial success. Her name is Tina Vandall, and she is a CPA and an MBA with over 20 years of experience in accounting and finance. As the founder of Small Business Insights, she has spent the last 3 years helping business owners take control of their finances through strategic coaching focused on cash flow, profitability, and sustainable growth. Before launching her firm, Tina managed budgets exceeding $500 million and led financial forecasting for a global IPO. Experience she now channels into helping small businesses thrive. In 2024, she was honored as one of Marquis' Who's Who in Finance, a recognition that speaks to her longstanding commitment to financial excellence. Tina's true passion lies in supporting small business owners who feel overwhelmed by their numbers. Her goal is to help them stop guessing and start making confident financial decisions. She believes the keys to success are simple but powerful. Never stop learning and never give up. She lives in West Virginia, where she enjoys time with her family and a menagerie of 4 dogs that aren't even hers but seem to think they are. Please join me in welcoming Tina Vandall, CPA, MBA, and author of Smart Money CEO, to True Voice Unfiltered. Tina Vandall, welcome to True Voice Unfiltered.
Thank you so much. I am very excited to be here.
Well, it's a pleasure to interview you, and you and I have worked together, and we'll talk about that a little bit later. But I am so excited to see the success that you're having with your book, your best-selling book, Smart Money CEO, the 30-minute Friday habit every small business needs for financial success. And we're going to talk about some of the principles in the book today. But before we get into that, Tina, I wanted to ask you, what are some of the biggest mistakes that you see small businesses making?
Well, the most common one is when, they start out with a great revenue month or they have a great year and they see all this money coming in and hitting their bank account and they just start spending and they end up committing more money long term than what they're really considering. Am I going to be able to pay for this in the future? You don't really know how those revenue ups and downs will take place sometimes, and they overcommit, and that's when they start running into financial problems.
So these are businesses that maybe on paper look strong, like their revenue looks great.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
And honestly, it's kind of a very common thing for any business. Doesn't matter what kind of business you're in. You have great looking bottom line. Your profit looks fantastic, but then when you look at your bank account, you don't have that same amount of money. And people get confused with that. They automatically assume that whatever that bottom line says is what they should be able to expect in their bank account. And it really just doesn't work that way. And it's stressful. It's very stressful for people because they don't really tend to focus on the money in the bank part, only when it's a problem, right? They focus more on that bottom line, have to get a certain amount of money showing on that bottom line, and they don't really focus on the certain amount of money they need in their bank account.
Right. I know in your book you talk about how some business owners might say, well, great, I look great on paper. I just met with my accountant, but why don't I have enough cash in my pocket? Like, what's going
Right.
on?
Yeah, right. You'd be surprised how often I've heard that question. So, but it happens. It happens to most people in business.
So, Tina, what is the 30-minute Friday habit? I know you talk about this a lot in your book, and I think this book is,
Yeah.
let me just say, Tina, if you are a business owner, you need to get Tina's book because it is going to be so helpful. It's a great guide. I just wanted to interject that before I allow you to
Well,
answer.
thank you. Thank you. What I really tried to do with the book and the habit, because this is something that I have used personally, not just in my business, but also from a personal standpoint. It's something really easy where you go back and you take a deep dive into your finances to start out with. You know, what's hitting your bank account, what's hitting your credit cards that you're having to pay off every month, your loans, etc. And then every week you sit down and you look at the money that's in the bank, what came in this week, what you have to pay out this week, and you kind of just take that point in time and forecast forward for 12, I like 12 weeks. Let's say 90 days, 3 months, 12 weeks is a good starting point. And you're just getting into that routine of knowing what to expect coming up that you're going to have to pay, not just payroll, but any of those out of the ordinary expenses you only see maybe once a quarter or annually. Um, a big one is, tax estimate payments or uh, you know, annual payments for insurance renewals, that kind of thing. So it's really just trying to be prepared so that you don't feel stressed out about it when you know that it's coming up. You've already looked ahead and planned to have that money in the bank so that you can take care of those bills when they show up.
Yeah, so you say in the book, like you can start to see patterns over time as you continue doing this. And I like the 12-week cycle too, because it coincides, like I file taxes quarterly, like with
Right.
my business. So I feel like that fits neatly into that. It kind of aligns with tax time because I think, is that one of the biggest, that's probably one of the biggest things businesses.
That's one of the biggest pain points, depending on, what kind of business setup you have, but it is the most common. Because people don't when I was doing tax returns, sadly, a lot of people who made a lot of money, and consequently owed a lot of tax, they never planned for it, and they never thought about it until it was time to file the return. Um, it's easy. I mean, if it's not something you're having to look at all the time, it is easy to not think about, but, it's always better to plan ahead for the because 'cause they're always big chunks of money. So,
Right. Yeah. And,
always
working on your book, and I think I told you this, as someone who, I was an English major in school, writing is my thing. I'm not, I mean, I can balance a checkbook, but I found that your book is so, the way you present the information is so clear and easy to follow that I felt like, wow, I could even do this.
Well,
This
thank
is
you.
easy.
Yeah, I tried to keep it simple because really it's not something that it's not a secret formula or something that people always think when they are messing with their finances or not messing with when they are concerned about their finances that there's some secret out there that they're not aware of or something that they need to be taught that they've never been taught before. And really, it's just a matter of paying attention to what's coming in and paying attention to what has to go out. And the secret to that, there is a little secret, but it's easy, is just the timing of it. It's the
Yeah.
timing of what you have coming in compared to what you need to have to go out.
Yeah, and I
So
love you. You also talk about kind of getting back to like expenses that businesses have. You talk about like best case outcome, worst case. Can you
yes.
talk to us a little bit about that? Because I love that
Sure.
whole.
Um, so what I've done, when I've worked with businesses is usually, when you're a growing business, you are planning ahead, you have either equipment that you wanna buy or maybe a new location that you wanna open up, or new employees that you need to hire. So, the trick is to try to figure out what that's gonna look like for your money, right? If you hire a new person, you know what you're gonna pay them. You can say, "Okay, every 2 weeks, it's gonna be an additional X amount coming out of my bank account." Or if you buy new equipment and you get a loan, okay, the loan payment every month is gonna be this amount. So you try to time that out with the money that you have going out with whatever the benefit you're going to get from that money coming in the door. And then that way, and you do it three different ways. You say, okay, the worst thing that could happen is I hire this employee. Maybe it's a salesperson, but my revenues don't go up. What is that going to look like? Or the base case scenario would be I hire this person, and typically when you have a person in this position, revenue increases by, let's say, 10%. So what's that going to look like for my cash flow? And then best case would be, okay, I hire this person, I'm paying them X amount of dollars, but wow, they are really good at what they do, and they increase my revenues 30%. So it
Yeah.
kind of gives you an idea of when you can hire that person, and also at what point you're going to see a benefit in the future from making that decision.
Right. No, I love that. I love your whole philosophy. And I love how you talk about taking a business owner from making sort of emotional decisions to now intentional decisions
Right.
and
Yeah.
using formula.
Yeah, money's a very emotional topic for people. Not just business owners, right? I mean, all of us have felt financial stress and pressure in our personal lives, and when it's your business and it's your only source of revenue, it becomes especially stressful. So it's I just want people to have a quick, easy tool that they can use so that it helps alleviate some of that financial pressure that they feel, you know? You don't have to worry what's coming down the road because you've already planned for it.
Yep. And the book is available in paperback and Kindle.
Yes.
So I highly recommend business owners out there who are listening to get your book and really start using it. Now, I'm a little bit old fashioned when it comes to books. I love paperbacks because, especially a book like yours, I feel like you can actually maybe make notes right inside the book. But either way, you're going to get the benefit of these principles that Tina talks about in the book. They're very simple. You can start implementing this 30-minute Friday habit right away and really start. I mean, this is great because we're at the beginning of the year, 2026.
Exactly. New Year's resolution time, get off on the right foot so that you can plan for the rest of your year and increase your money in your bank account and even your profit too.
Exactly, because it's tough out there for small business owners these days, and so
Oh,
anything they
absolutely.
can do, to increase profit, increase the amount of cash in their pocket, start making wise, intentional decisions that are going to just keep the business growing. I think it's
Yes.
it's so important. So, Tina, talk to me about what is a fractional CFO and how does that differ? Because I know that you're a CPA, but how does
Yes.
a fractional CFO differ from an accountant or a bookkeeper?
The difference is when you are dealing with a bookkeeper or an accountant, and your preparer, their job is to look backwards, right? Look at your historical numbers, make sure that you've uh, filed the correct reports that your business is responsible for, your tax returns, your payroll reports. Um, it gives you a snapshot of what your business looked like, your financial statements will, what your business looked like, but that's already happened. And that's great because you have to have that information as a basis to know what it potentially could look like going forward. But that's the extra part that I do is I will come in at that point once you have all your compliance, let's call it, taken care of, and you have your financial statements, and I help you plan for whatever your financial goals are for your business. And it's more like a strategic partnership than just being an accountant. You're actually spelling out those goals and outlining the steps, those action steps that they have to take to achieve those goals.
So this is
And
more
on
of
top of that,
right.
what potentially their financial situation will look like once they achieve those goals.
So this is more of a proactive approach, whereas
Yes,
the accountant is more of reactive, even though it's necessary. And still need to
right.
have an accountant and a bookkeeper. But I love
Exactly.
what you do because you help them sort of proactively achieve those goals. So when the accountant does their work, hey, you're happy with the
That's
results.
right. That's
Yeah.
right. It's more, you always hear about CFOs and you associate that with, larger companies. But smaller businesses don't always have the luxury of hiring a full-time CFO, but they desperately need a strategic partner to help them get those goals that are so important to them.
Now, Tina, when does it make sense for a business to consider hiring a fractional CFO?
Uh, the people I typically work with, are people that are looking to make some kind of change in their business. And it could be a business that's growing, like I mentioned earlier, where they maybe need to hire people or buy new equipment or, a new location. But it could also mean maybe somebody just wants their financial statements to look very healthy because maybe they want to exit and use that as retirement. So there's planning that's involved with that. Sometimes it is maybe just keeping the business strong and continuously growing so they can have something for their children when their children grow up. There's so many different things. Everybody has so many different goals that they want to achieve in their business. So regardless of whatever the goal is, there is always a financial path to get there.
Now, in my previous life as a content manager, I wrote blogs and content for estate planning attorneys, and some of them offered business succession planning. So, does that ever intersect with what you do? Have you ever had a situation where you've sort of worked with that client's attorney?
I have, but not from that perspective. It's I've worked with attorneys when there's other types of planning, like maybe they're a corporation and they're wanting to bring on board more stockholders and that sort of thing. But it's the same kind of thing where you're both working towards the same goal. What is this going to look like financially for the company and the individual, right? Because
Right.
you have to make sure that it works for both parties.
Absolutely. And I'm sure that many business owners want to be able to like pass the business down to their children or family members. Is that a
Oh,
common thing you
definitely.
deal with? Yeah.
Definitely, yeah. That's very, very common. Sometimes it happens, but sometimes the
Yeah.
kids have other ideas, but it's still an asset for the kids, maybe they can, if they're not interested in it, maybe they can sell it. So it's still a financial benefit to your kids.
Sure. Or maybe they could even hire people that know that business and
That's right.
want to
Yes,
maintain it. Yeah.
yes.
So if a business owner right now listening feels overwhelmed by their finances, what's one small step they can take today to start turning that around?
The the easiest step to take right now is to s just take a look at, let's say, the last quarter, 3 months of your bank statements, what's come in, what's gone out, and not just your bank statements, because things that are hitting your bank statements that are in the background are like what's hitting your credit cards too, right?
Uh-huh.
Because those balances creep up, which in turn affect how much has to come out of your bank account every month. So it's kind of just gathering all of that information and getting familiar with those ins and outs and the timing of those ins and out,
Hmm.
that rhythm that is in the background that you don't always pay attention to every day. And once you have that and you can pinpoint maybe some areas where you can cut back, or areas that you've probably forgotten you were even spending that money to start with, it's going to give you that feeling of control. Like, okay, now I see what's going on. Now I know what I need to do to make it better going forward. And the most important part of that is number one, you're not going to get it right the first time. Okay, I promise. You're not going to get it right. And that's okay, because the more important thing is starting it and then every week getting into that routine and paying attention. then you're gonna get more confident, and then you're gonna get more comfortable, and then that's when you start being able to really predict what things should look like and how to make things look the way that you want them to look.
Yeah, as you were talking, Tina, I was thinking like so many expenses these days are subscriptions. I don't know if that's true with the
Yes.
kinds of clients you work with. I'm going to ask
Oh, it
about that.
is.
Okay.
Yeah.
I
Yeah,
know
I mean,
myself, I keep a spreadsheet so I know like what's coming out when
it's too
from a cost
easy.
rate.
It is
Yeah,
so easy to just it's like everything that you click on nowadays, they want you to subscribe to, right?
exactly.
And it's always free in the beginning,
Yeah.
but you
Or
still
they give
have
you
to
some
put
type of financial
that.
incentive too if you subscribe,
Yeah.
like it's cheaper. So I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you,
Oh,
but yeah.
no, that's right. They always, have that hook where you give them your email and your credit card number, and then you forget that you did that.
Yeah.
So, it happens to everybody. And it happens to businesses too, because there are so many new apps and things online. And, here's AI now, right? So there's
Yeah.
new AI subscriptions that you can join. And, maybe they're the right thing for your business, but probably not every single one is going to be the right thing for your business. So it's just kind of trying to keep a handle on things that you have committed to that you've forgotten about.
Yeah, my old boss used to call that shiny object syndrome too, like with all these new apps that you were mentioning, right? And you
Oh,
would have
yeah.
clients that they just wanted this and they wanted that, and really didn't put a lot of thought into, do I really need this now? And maybe it's something that maybe you can say yes to in the future, but maybe it's
Right.
not something you need right now. Is that something you when you work with clients that you kind of help them work through?
Yes, it's always good to because it's great, and you're right, it is shiny object syndrome, people get excited, "Oh, this is gonna be the thing that makes a difference," right? Sometimes that's true, but a lot of times it's not true. So it's always good to kinda take a pause, before you commit any money, and try to actually think, okay, if I get this, number one, is it something different from anything I already have? A lot of times we end up buying the same kinds of things. They all kind of do the different version of the same thing, right? Um,
Right. That's true.
so it's always good to just make sure you're really thinking, what's the value I'm going to get out of this? Is it going to increase my revenue? Is it gonna increase my productivity? Um, you really have to think, is it gonna be worth this money that you're spending?
Yeah, absolutely. Now, Tina, do you work with all kinds of businesses or do you focus on particular industries?
I do not focus on a niche. I shouldn't say that. I know that's not a good thing to say these days,
What?
but
I was not aware that that wasn't a good word. I would have used that, but I like niche actually.
well, the thing they always tell you is you need a niche,
Yeah.
and,
Yeah.
I guess my niche is just really small business owners of no particular industry who have been around for a couple of years and are looking to grow their money in their bank and their profit. The thing with what I do is it's applicable regardless of what kind of business you're in. I have some contracting clients. I have some professional service clients. I have a retail client. There's there's so many different kinds of industries, but they all need money, right?
Uh-huh.
And they all want to grow their profit. Now, those things might differ industry to industry on how to make that happen, but the nuts and bolts are the same.
Now, do you work with people virtually, Tina,
Yes,
all throughout the country?
virtually
Okay.
and well, in my local area.
Okay.
I like to get out of the house.
I hear you. I'm actually looking into researching networking groups in my area so I can at least get out of the house once a week because I know it's like,
Yeah, yeah, I have, there's 2 or 3 clients that I actually travel to weekly or biweekly as needed, and it's good to get out and talk to people in person, you
yeah,
know? It's easier sometimes to have an actual face-to-face conversation, um, and it and brainstorm when you're face to face. Sometimes that's easier, but Zoom works too.
yeah.
They just They have to be willing to make the commitment.
Yeah, so let's talk about sort of the responsibility of your clients, the clients that you work with, because you're there to
Yes,
help them, right? So, what are
right.
some of your expectations or requirements for the people you work with?
Number one and most important is you have to be coachable.
Mhm.
You
Okay.
have to be open to committing the time, and not not just for the monthly meetings or whatever we determine is best to meet, monthly, biweekly meetings, but you also have to have the willingness and the commitment to follow through on the action steps that we come up with, because it's not my job to know their business better than they do. That's their job. You know, they're the ones who are in the trenches with their business every day, and they know the ins and outs of those operations. I'm just there kind of as a guide to say, okay, this is the step you want to achieve. How can we get there?
Mhm.
And they come up with suggestions. I come up with suggestions, and it's kind of a collaborative effort. You know, does this make sense? If this happens, will this happen? Um, it's not a quick process with like the 30-minute Friday habit. That's a quick process, but that's really just one part of what I do when I work with clients individually. That's like the beginning step is getting control of their cash. And then from there, it's a lot more involved and detailed. And they just have to be willing to take the time and make the effort to follow through on the plans and the action steps.
Yeah, it's like anything else, whether you're talking about your health, your business. I mean, if
That
you're going to hire a
exactly.
professional, then you have to follow the steps that they lay out based on your, in this case, business's
Right.
needs.
And a lot of times it isn't necessarily the business owner themselves doing all the steps. They usually have a team of people that they can delegate to,
Mhm.
and that they can, they'll have help in the background reaching those goals. So it is time consuming, but it's always worth the effort to get where you want to go.
Oh, absolutely. And so, Tina, do you work with any, like, have you ever worked with like accounting staff in a company or bookkeepers? Like, does that ever
Yes.
intersect? Do you ever find yourself having to collaborate with those
Yes.
professionals?
Frequently. Yeah, because they're the ones who are going to give me the information I need to start out with.
Okay.
So there is a lot of financial reporting collaboration with bookkeepers or controllers, whoever handles that in the individual business. And, um, just depends really on how big the business is. But
Right.
typically it is going to be the people in the office, the
Yeah.
financial people, marketing people, sales people, the whole team.
Yeah.
Everybody has to be on board with the plan.
Well, yeah, and hopefully, if they're working there, the people are on board with the plan because the business's success is your success as an employee.
Exactly,
Regardless of your role. So, it sounds like
exactly.
it's definitely a team effort between you and the business you're working with. And one of the things I love about Smart Money CEO is that you give actual examples of businesses you've worked with. I know you have an example of like seasonal business. I think it was a landscaper who would
Mhm.
dread kind of the holidays because he
Right.
didn't have a plan and
Yeah,
you were able to help him turn things around. So this is also a quality of life issue. Talk to us a little bit about that.
it is. Sometimes when I'm talking to people, and the question is always, "Well, what do you do for small businesses?" And, I try to help them with their money, and I feel like people maybe take the wrong viewpoint on that, where it's thinking money, money, it's not all about the money. Um, and you're right. But what the money does is it allows you to do whatever you want to do with your personal life. It's about having that tool. Money is a tool, and
Yes.
it's there for you to use to get out of life whatever you want, whether that is putting your kids through college, or buying new cars or going on vacations, whatever it means for you personally, that is what everybody needs. That's something we all have in common is we have to have money to do it, right?
Absolutely. I'm so glad you brought that up because I think in our culture we tend to devalue money like only, you know, evil self-centered people care about money. And the fact is
Yeah,
you cannot live a good life without money. I mean, that's just the reality.
that is the reality. Whether we like it or not, that's always been the reality. And it's not going to change even if we start using Bitcoin for currency all the time,
Exactly.
right? It's still that same concept of you still need it for survival. And it's funny because I was looking through some of your interviews for your podcast, and I love how you talk about your thing is transformation, right?
Mhm.
And that's kind of how I see myself is I am here to help businesses transform into what they need to be so people can have in their lives what they want to have. And it's important to me because I've been through several personal financial transformations, as I'm sure we all have at some point in our lives. And it always came down to okay, this is where I am, but this is where I want to be or need to be. How am I going to get there? And the first place I always had to start and go back to is, well, I need the money to do that.
Yeah,
So it's it I'm just kind of carrying forward that philosophy from a business standpoint.
exactly. Because it's great to have passion for what you do, because I certainly do, and I know you do. And at the same time, there's nothing wrong with being paid well for that expertise,
No, there is
passion,
not.
your goal.
You
Yeah.
know, sometimes occasionally I do run into those people. I had someone who was potentially going to be a client, but the big question was, well, can I just work with you by the hour? And no, you can't.
Yeah.
You know, there's been a lot of years I've spent doing this, a lot of behind the scenes work, and it's the value. I'm trying to bring people value. I'm not just another employee,
Yes, and
which
I think the danger too with hourly, at least in my profession, I feel like people think maybe you're just padding. You know what I mean? I don't know. I feel like
right.
danger in
Yeah.
that too. Whereas, like for me, I like a project price. It's just
y-
easier. Here's what
Right.
it's going to give you. Here's what I'm
Exactly.
going to deliver. Here's what it costs, and it's similar with what you do. It
Similar
sounds
with what I do. Yeah. It depends on the scope. How far ahead are we looking and how many different steps are we trying to achieve? And yeah, it's a whole project. It's a whole
like.
project. It's not just, well, I'm going to work 5 hours a day, X amount of days, and this is your price. It's not that simple.
Right. And I mean, when you look at it as how much less expensive this is than hiring a full time CFO, you're
Exactly.
still getting all
Yes.
the value um, for less than the
Right.
salary of a full time CFO.
Right. CFOs tend to be in the six-figure range, and a lot of small businesses cannot afford that, and they don't need that. You don't need somebody full-time. You just need someone a few hours a month, and once once we've reached that point, initially it's gonna take a little bit more because we have to dive into a lot of different financial information, but once we do that, it's just checking in and staying on track and revising things as needed. It's not a full-time position for a small business.
Right. Now, is there any kind of like, is there an application that people fill out if they want to reach out to you to see if you guys are a good fit? Is there anything you do to determine if it's a good match?
Yes. I have what I call a right fit call where we kind of will meet, schedule a Zoom meeting with me, and we just have a conversation. I'll ask some questions to determine where they stand, where their financial pain points lie, and then they get a chance to know me because I'm not going to assume that I'm always a good fit for everybody because that's not going to be the case, right?
Right.
So, just make sure that we both get value. It's important that we both get value. out of that first phone call. And then once we do, assuming that everything works out, I move into what I do, a free financial health assessment where I say, okay, let's move to the next step. I ask for specific information once they provide it, and I kind of do a analysis of the financial information they send me. Then I can kind of go back to them and say, okay, here is what I see. Here are your problem areas, or here's where you're doing really well, and just highlight some issues that I think they need to work on and combine that with whatever their goals are.
Yeah, and it's like they get an objective expert to come in and look at things too. Because I know it for myself, like, sometimes when you're too close to something, you can't see the forest for the trees.
Oh, very true. Yeah.
Y
And me too with my own personal situation. Sometimes I have to step back and say, "Oh, Tina, wait a minute. If this was a client, what would you do?"
Yeah, I like that.
Yeah.
I'm gonna
But yeah,
that's
you're
what
exactly right.
yeah. So, they get the benefit of someone with the expertise and knowledge that you have that can be objective and look at things and really spell it out. Like, here's where we are, here's what we need to do, here's what we need to improve, and then actually take those steps.
Yeah, it's important, with any big financial decision or strategy that you do have that objective viewpoint because you have to be honest when maybe we've come up with a strategy and a plan and then for some reason it doesn't work. Customers didn't behave like you thought they would behave, or you weren't able to hire that employee. So then we have to go to a plan B. You always have to be willing to take a different step or a different approach, and try something new. And actually, I think that's my personal opinion on a successful business owner is any business owner that is willing to always be learning and always be willing to pivot when you need to. Don't be so entrenched into thinking, oh, there's only one way to do this, because that is usually not the case.
Mhm. Excellent. Tina, your book is called Smart Money CEO, the 30-minute Friday habit every small business needs for financial success. So what made you decide to write a book, and what was that process like?
Well, I have actually always wanted to write a book for, geez, probably, I'm going to say 10 years or more. And I had read this book during COVID that Michelle Culp, who I know you've worked with before, had written, called Digital Retirement Academy, about writing books and, getting royalties off those books as a way for passive income. And I thought, oh, I'm going to do that. Well, 5 years later, I finally did it because Michelle came up with a class called the Tiny Book Challenge, and I was fortunate enough to sign up for it at the right time and got it done. And it was kind of one of those things where I'm going to do this because I've always wanted to do this. And I don't care if I only sell 5 books, I'm going to do this. It's on my bucket list. And the process was, in the beginning, it was kind of intimidating. But once you do it, she does such a good job of
Is
helping you
excellent.
focus on the things that you need to focus on to get it
Mhm.
done. And I thought the biggest challenge would be writing the book, but it was all the other stuff I didn't know that's involved in getting a book
Mhm.
published. That that was
It's
a
a
bigger
lot.
challenge for me.
It's a lot between the book cover design, the formatting, the ISBN numbers,
Yeah,
a lot
and
involved. Yeah.
yeah, and she goes through all of that, and
Mhm.
I'm not saying it's hard, it's just you don't realize the things that you don't know, um,
Exactly.
until you get into it, like with most new things, but definitely am very happy I did it and would do it all over again and plan to do it again hopefully soon, so
Yeah, I know she's gonna have another one coming up, I think in the first quarter, which would be awesome.
yeah, yeah, so
Yeah, Michelle.
it's an experience that, like I said, it was on my bucket list, so I'm very happy that I
Yeah.
actually did it.
And did you find the structure helped you? Like, as to kind of stay on track
Definitely.
with the book? Okay, great.
Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely. 'Cause I'm an accountant. I like the I
Ah,
like structure. So that was definitely a big help for me. And easy. She set up those references, like the checklists and everything.
mhm.
So that was also very helpful.
It was yeah, it was fantastic. It was very comprehensive. And Michelle and I
Oh,
have worked
definitely.
together now for more than 10 years. So I've referred a lot of clients to her. I've worked with a lot of her clients, and you and I worked together, and it was
Yeah.
wonderful.
Yep. It
It
was a
was a
great
great experience.
experience.
Yeah. So I'll put all the information for that in the show description because I know there'll be another one coming up, hopefully this first quarter of the year. So Tina, where can people find you? Tell us your website, where they can find you. The book is available, everyone on Amazon in Kindle and paperback. I will also put a link to that in the show description.
Thank you. Yes, they can find me at thesmartmoneyceo.com. And that will take you directly to my website, and you can go to my contact page and book a call. I'm
Excellent.
always happy to have a conversation.
Yeah, that's excellent. Well, thank you so much, Tina. I really appreciate you taking the time to join me today. Is there anything else you want the audience to know before we sign off?
Oh, I probably should have been prepared for that question, but I am not. Probably the thing I would like people to take away from what I do is just to kind of encourage people to, don't be afraid to dive into those details that you don't look at every day. And don't judge yourself. We are all such harsh judges of character on ourselves more than we are on other people, especially when it comes to money and finances.
Yeah.
So we all go through that, but you're never going to get over it if you just don't dive in and get it behind you and get started. Just taking once, even if it's just one thing a day, just do one thing a day and it's going to set you on a better path.
I love it. I'm going to take that advice myself in this new year. Well, Tina, thank you again so much. It's thesmartmoneyceo.com. Go to Tina's website, schedule a right fit call with her if you want to learn more, and also go on Amazon. You can find the Smart Money CEO there in Kindle and paperback. So
Thank
Tina,
you
thank you
so
so much.
much.
Wishing you much success. Congratulations on your book being a bestseller.
Well, I appreciate that. I appreciate you and Michelle and everyone who helped me with the book. It was a fantastic experience.
Oh, I'm really glad. Well, I mean, it was a pleasure for me too. And I really, like I said, I learned so much from working on your book that I can apply to my own little business here. It's just me right now, but it's,
Good. I'm glad to hear
definitely
that.
very, very helpful. So, well, thank you so much, Tina, and you have a
Thank
great day.
you.
I'll
You
talk to
do
you
the
soon.
same. Talk to you soon.
Hi, I'm Dr. Liz. I just want to tell you how amazing and easy it was to work with Daria on my book. You see, I've had a book for a while, been sitting on my desk, sitting on my computer. Maybe you might be able to relate to that. And I didn't know what to do, how to take it to the next step, how to make it polished and edited and easy and useful for my readers. Met with Daria, we had some great conversations. She learned my voice, my goal, my style, and she was able to edit and give me feedback on how to make my message clearer, more focused, polished, and it worked. I have a book. In fact, I have a book and a workbook that she's edited for me and guided me along the pathway. So if you're maybe a little bit like me, that you have a book or you have an idea and you haven't known where to take it, how to take it to the next stage, reach out to Daria. She's a game changer and she's really easy to work with and takes great pride in her work as well. So join me in the publish author arena. Reach out to Daria. I'm Dr. Liz.